Hello, and how are you? My name is Winnie Barawa, and if you're new here, this is Medic Academy where we discuss knowledge and lectures in different areas of medical courses. Mostly we cover areas of medicine and nursing and any other topics that concerns medical and health. And in this class, we're going to focus on gender analysis, but first and foremost, we will introduce and then we will see the significance as we move forward into the other areas of gender analysis. So welcome and keep it up till the end. So by definition, gender analysis is simply a method that gender experts are using to collect and process information about gender. And if you're still wondering what is gender or what is age, we have a whole class that we did a while back. It's on our list where we discussed the introduction to concepts around gender and we defined all the differences between sex and gender. We introduced different aspects around gender, and that can give you more details. And by methodology, we mean it's a process, and for this purpose, before you can gather enough information about gender and its aspect, then gender analysis is generally organized in such a manner. So what is it? It refers to a variety of systematic methods that you can use to understand. It refers to various systematic methods that you can use to understand majorly the relationship between men and women. And in this aspect, the relationship you're looking at is not like physical differences whereby you say, oh, the man is tall or the woman is short, or the man has the women have ovaries and the men have this and that. We are looking at relationship around issues that promote into development or promote into involvement with policies and so on. For example, we look at how maybe men and women access resources. We look at their activities and their constraints that they face relatively to each other. So it's a systematic method that we are using to understand relationship in concerns between men and women. And we focus on so many things. And as you keep up with our class on gender, you will see even what experts use to evaluate the differences or the relationship between men and women, and then come up with methods that can be used to create either gender equality or to promote equal access to opportunities. I may understand and maybe aspects. As you learning about gender, or you're someone maybe studying gender issues and gender knowledge. And for this purpose, for you to understand how gender analysis works, you really need to first understand the differences between men and women roles by either being able to do good research methods, that is qualitative and quantitative methods, where you can have understanding on the activities that women participate in, the resources that women maybe have and don't have, and see the preferences, the constraints, and even the incentives in the different aspects of men and women. So with gender analysis processes, it takes one to not just sit and start studying men and men, but it takes a purpose where you need to understand key aspects that compromise gender. And some of these aspects includes activities, resources, preferences, constraints, and even economic aspects in terms of incentives that maybe men and women access. So what are the significance, or why will someone do gender analysis, or what benefits will it bring that we participate in gender analysis processes? So for this purpose, when we do gender analysis, there is the advantage that you can challenge systemic inequalities. We need to appreciate that in our world, or in our current world right now, there's so many development coming up, but also in all this empowerment and development, there's some inequalities that are in place that are systematically ostrated, let me say so. And you find that as much as we are working around women empowerment, we are looking at policies, there's some inequality that are still in place. And so with gender analysis, we can look around those parts and be able to challenge them and come up with better policies. And then the second significance of gender analysis is that it's able to identify gender gaps that is in existence, and then you can break that gap and create equality accesses. For example, there is the research that was done, and there was a variation between where boys versus girls in India and Jamaica, the gender gaps are a bit different. And you find they were saying in India, access to education for girls is still low. But in Jamaica, it's the opposite, where they say access to education among boys is actually less compared to the girls. So it's like in Jamaica, more girls are able to access education as compared to boys. So such are issues that you can identify using gender analysis and come up with better methods. And then it leads to effective policies and programs, just the way we've said. With gender analysis, you can see which policies are not favoring particular gender and how you can make it better. And number four, you can have efficient use of resources. This is what we talk about targeted planning and budgeting. So with gender analysis, you can see the variations, like what is different between men and women, what is different between boys and girls. And so if it's an assembly of politicians or assembly of legislatures, then they can sit down and come up with policies that promote equal use of resources for either gender. Or if it is financial budgeting, then the budgeting can be targeted and say, if women don't have access to this particular type of service, then let's give more money to influence that. If men are lacking certain resources, then more money can be channeled to cater for such. So it promotes the targeted budgeting. So around gender analysis, again, there's equal access to resources and opportunities. And just like we are saying, with this, we can get gender gaps, or we can see the differences that either favor or don't favor particular gender. And for that aspect, you can see how do we balance or ensure that each and every gender is catered for and given enough access to certain resources. And then number six, there is improvement on socioeconomic development, where you can actually see either maybe if certain opportunities are not accessible to particular gender, then if they're either social or economic, then you can promote the access to such livelihood examples. And lastly, there is informed, gender responsive, and effective interventions. As a society, mostly where there's a problem, we tend to give just a blanket approach to that particular problem. And so we don't give consideration, for instance, does it affect men more or does it affect women more? But when you become a gender expert and you're looking into gender differences and what affects who more or less, then you can sit down and ensure that the interventions we come up with in the cases of challenges become gender informed. So you can make a gender responsive solution or gender responsive intervention. And for this, we become more effective. And as a result, then you're able to solve the problems in a way that is impactful rather than just cleaning and doing what you think is best without considering the effects. So we've talked about gender experts, we're mentioning all those who do gender analysis and all that. So with gender analysis, we've said it's a methodological process where you're able to collect data, both qualitative and quantitative, about men and women and get to differentiate their different ways. But now who can do gender analysis? So people who can do gender analysis are many and can be anyone, provided you have an interest in gender analysis. But most of the time, when it comes to programs and organizations, you find analysts, policymakers, program managers, be it in government or civil societies, can participate in doing gender analysis. It can be an individual, even you yourself who is listening to this class can participate in gender analysis, provided you understand the steps and you understand what you're looking for. Groups and also communities can participate in gender. And lastly, can have organizations who are in a vulnerable settings and they're looking for interventions to implement. Then before doing the implementation, it's always advised they participate in a gender analysis process, to get to understand the differences between men and women, doing, a mini research to just collect a few data sources that guides to understand the community gender aspects first before they implement interventions. And that was it for this class on gender analysis. So we have introduced and given out the significance of conducting gender analysis. So if you like our content and you like to come back and see more about us, you can watch more videos that is on our channel. You can like this video also, comment and share what you've understood or not understood, but you can also subscribe so you become part and parcel of our family. Click on the subscription button and also click on the notification button so that you can be notified when we post the next class. Thank you so much, and bye bye till we meet again in the next class.